Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Are we live?
You're live.
Hey, let's make sure. All right. Hey, everyone. I am Dave Meyer. Thank you for joining us today. We have been plagued by some technical issues today. We've had some internet issues, we've had all sorts of issues, but we are about to get started. So thank you for your patience and for sticking around with us. We have an interesting show today. So part of why this took us a little while is we had a deal lined up and we were going to be doing it. And unfortunately, the internet connection with the people who gave us the deal, we were trying to pipe them in, wasn't working. So instead, we are going to still be talking about the same thing, which is how to use your current home to finance an investment property. But instead of having a live deal for you, I'm going to just talk about the basics of refinancing. And that is really what we're going to talk about anyway, which is how you can take equity that you already have in your house and turn it into an investment property. So we're just going to sort of talk about this today in sort of the highest level way, and we're going to get to do that. So guys, I can see your chat, so if you have any questions or comments, please put it in the chat. I can read it right in front of me. And we are also going to be giving away a pretty cool discount today. It is actually my 30th birthday today, and so in honor of my 30th birthday, we're going to be giving away a 30% discount for the BiggerPockets books. So stick around because I'm going to give out a code for that in just a little bit. Again, 30% off any and all BiggerPockets books, which is a huge value to you, in honor of yours truly. Okay, so let's talk about refinancing 101. If you've heard of refinancing, if you have any questions, shoot me some comments, but I'm just going to start at the top and go through it. So basically, I'm going to presume that you know what a basic mortgage is. You bought a house, you probably put, let's say, 3.5% down, or you put 20% down to buy your first home, and you're living in that. Let's make up a number. Let's say that was $300,000, right? So your first home, you bought for $300,000. All right. Now, you've been living in that home for, let's say, 5 years. So in that 5 years, two things have happened that both benefit you greatly. The first thing is that you've paid down part of your mortgage. So the way you will find out how much you have paid down of your mortgage is by looking at an amortization schedule. And you can do this online. There's plenty of places, including BiggerPockets, that have a mortgage calculator. And you can look up an amortization schedule, and that will tell you after 5 years how much you still owe the bank. So let's just say that after 5 years in this mortgage, you've paid down about $20,000 of your mortgage. So you still owe the bank $280,000. And when you look at an amortization schedule, guys, it's important to see that it is a curve. It is not linear. So some people might think that you are paying down like this, right? Every month you're paying down the same amount. That is not how it works. How it works is something like this. So this is a curve that shows how much interest you are paying. So at first, right, this is interest. You are paying a lot of interest. So you are not paying down a lot of your mortgage in the first few years. You are still going to owe the bank a lot of money. Towards the end of your mortgage, so this is years, right? So you have 1 to 30 years if you're financing it that way. So over this time, every month you are paying a little bit more principal and a little bit less interest. And you want to be paying more principal. Principal is the amount you owe the bank. So you want to make sure that you're understanding an amortization schedule and an amortization table when you are trying to figure out how much you owe the bank. But so for our purposes here on Deal of the Day, and to teach you a little bit about refinancing, what's important to know is that you can figure out after X amount of months, after X amount of years, exactly how much you owe the bank. So we are going to do $280,000. And that's the first thing that has happened for you in a positive way. The next thing that can happen for you in a positive way is appreciation. So if your property in the neighborhood that you have invested in has actually improved in value, that will make a difference. So I'm seeing people say that you want a darker marker. Let me see if I can find one here. That one's even worse. That one's also worse. 0 for 3. Also worse. Okay, let me see if I can find a thicker one. Maybe that will work. That's the worst of all. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. Wow. They're just getting worse every time. So unfortunately, this is just the kind of day we're having today. Sorry, we can't get anything right today. So I'm going to just keep going. Sorry about this. So the appreciation, what you really want is to know. So let's say that our appreciation has improved 10% in the 5 years that you have been paying this down. So that would mean that your home value has gone up to $360,000, right? If it went, or 10%, we're going to say $330,000. Right? Awesome. That's great. Everyone wants that to happen. So you want $330,000 and you owe the bank $280,000. So this is a big difference. That is basically how much equity you have in the home. So that means you have $50,000 in equity. Congratulations. That is awesome. So let's figure out how you can do that. So now you have $50,000 in equity, and this is the basis of refinancing or cash out financing, is that you are going to take this equity out of the property, and theoretically you can do anything you want with it. You don't have to invest it in real estate, but being that we're BiggerPockets, and what we want you all to understand is the value of refinancing for real estate is that you could take this money out and you can invest it in real estate. Zach is working on fixing the cameras, guys, so stay with us for just a second. We're going to zoom in. Hopefully you can all see it. So also, we're investing in a proper studio. We will have one in the next couple of months. But stay with us, guys. This is still really important information that you can get a lot from even without the board. So here's what you need to know. What you can do is basically take out a brand new mortgage and get some of this money out. So basically, if you were buying the house again, what you would do is be putting 20% down on the new value of the property. So that's important to understand. This home, let's just say that the bank sent someone over there and they appraised it, and it came out for $330,000. So you would have to keep $26,000, or 20%, $66,000 in there in order to keep the house. That's how much equity you have to have in there. But you already put 20% down from $300,000, so that is 60. So all you have to do is put $6,000 down more to keep your to keep that house on a 20% down. So that means that you are taking the $40,000, right? You have $40,000 here in equity that you put down to start, and now in order to keep 20% of this amount, you need $66,000. Sorry, I'm an idiot. This is 60. So now you have $66K that you need to put down. And so the difference is $6K, right? So you subtract that from here. That's how much equity. So that means you owe the bank $280. You're paying off that original mortgage. You're putting $66K down on your $330,000 property, leaving you with now $44,000 in equity. And this is the beauty of refinancing. This amount you can actually take out. You can go to the bank, and when you refinance it, they're going to write you a check for this amount of money. And of course, just like any other mortgage, you actually do have to pay closing costs. So for a refinance, sometimes it can actually be a lot cheaper. For example, you don't have an inspection often. You're not going to have to do all of the same work for a closing here. So you now have $44,000, right? Okay, so that is money that you can now take to invest in another property. And say that you want to, maybe if you wanted to buy a duplex and you wanted to house hack that duplex, now you have $44,000 that's going to count towards your down payment. And if you're putting let's say you're putting 10% down on this next property, you can now use this money to buy a $440,000 house, and you've come out of pocket $0. You have not at all, not a single dollar, and now you own 2 properties. So that's the beauty of refinancing, is that you have basically just lived in your home. You have had the great benefit of appreciation, 10% over 5 years. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's great. And then you come up with all this money that you can reinvest. So I'm actually going to run through how I did this and use one of my deals recently and use the real numbers and show you guys exactly how this works in interest. But before we do that, as I mentioned, it is, does anyone have any questions first before we do this? Zach, delete that comment, can you? Yeah, no, this one. Go up. Gene, yeah, get rid of that. Okay, so block that. Okay, sorry guys. So if you have any questions, please let me know. But I'm going to go into do these numbers. But before, thank you for being here, guys. It is my 30th birthday, and in honor, we are going to give you guys 30% off of any BiggerPockets book, and we're going to use the code 30 for 30. If any of you are sports fans, we're stealing this from ESPN, but 30 for 30, that is the code for 30% off any and all books. You want to buy every single book? Go for it. We're giving you 30% off. It's an awesome deal. I actually don't think we've ever given 30% off. I did not ask Josh if we were allowed to do this, so we might be giving off more than we're allowed to. But 30 for 30, that's the deal for all BiggerPockets books. Zach, if you could throw the link in there, I think it's biggerpockets.com. He's way ahead of me, he knows. Okay, awesome. But let's go into this deal. So recently, I used to be house hacking in a property in Denver that I bought for with some partners. So I did not have the equity to buy this, but I bought it with partners. $720,000 down, or $720,000. So that meant I put down $144K because I put 20% down. I was living there, which allowed me to put 20% down instead of 25% down. Only 2 years later, I was very lucky. The Denver market has exploded. 2 years later, that was worth $860,000. I mean, it's pretty awesome. It's 20% in 2 years. It's pretty amazing. I'm not counting on it ever happening again, but just to show you, that's awesome. Brax, I know, 30, it is super old. It is a really weird experience. I actually don't think it's old, but it's just weird to say. But I definitely understand. So, okay. So now 860, that's awesome. I had already paid down a little bit of the mortgage, but after 2 years, honestly, it wasn't that much. It was only $710 that I owed. So I only paid down about $10,000 in equity. So that means that I had $150,000 in equity. It's amazing, right? It's unbelievable. So that's an unbelievable deal. But now I have to refinance, right? I have to put 25% down. So here's the trick about refinancing. This was a home I was living in. That means I can put 20% down. Now I am going to use this money to buy a home for me and my girlfriend to live in. This is really what happened. And so that means that when I refinance this property, I have to put 25% down because it is now an investment property. It is not my primary residence. So 25% of $860,000, let's see in my old age if I can do this math in my head, is $190,000, no, $215,000. Okay, so I had to put down $215,000 as my down payment, right? So I had only put $144,000 in, right? So that means that I have to come out of pocket or take it out of my equity to make out the difference here. So what is that? 56, 66, 71. So that means that I have to have 25% down in the new value of my home, which is $860,000. 25% down, I'm going to have to come up with $71,000. Whoops. $71,000 in cash, right? but not actually come out of pocket. I don't have to come out of pocket because I have $150,000 in equity there. So now I just subtract the 71 that I need to keep in there as part of my new down payment, and that means that I owe $79,000 I have to play with. So I could invest that in anything. I put 25% down, which means that this is an investment property and I am now free to buy another primary residence. So I lived in that place for 2 years. You follow all the rules. But then this means I could buy a single family home. I could buy a duplex. I could buy a triplex. I could buy a quadplex and put 20% down and get a residential loan with $79,000 as my down payment. So what I actually wound up doing, because part of the reason I wanted to do this was to buy a single family home for me to live in with my girlfriend. And that means that basically, if this is 20% of my down payment, 80 times 5, means that I could buy a single family home for $400,000, right? So look what I've done here. In 2 years, I've bought, this is a fourplex, right? So I had a fourplex that I lived in. I was able to buy it as a residential loan because I lived in it for 2 years. Then 2 years later, thanks to a lot to appreciation, I was able to pull out $79,000, use this as a down payment for another home that is $400,000, and I have not put down another dollar. So all I did was put down the number, put down the amount of money here, and now I own a whole nother building without coming out of pocket a single dollar. So I hope you guys all understand that this is the serious power of refinancing. It will actually take you and help you build a sustainable portfolio. You could do this forever. You could buy this, and every 2 years or every year, honestly, you could put 25%, you can refinance, put 25% equity in the building you were living in, and then take 20% and buy another quadplex. You could just keep buying a quadplex every 2 years as long as you want. And there are some downsides. Obviously, you're paying a little bit of cash in closing costs every time. So you're taking $3,000, $5,000. Obviously, the amount that you can pull out of any given mortgage is highly, highly dependent on the appreciation in the area. But still, that means you are going to be able to continue to build a real estate investing portfolio without always having to come out of pocket. Now, once you get past 5 mortgages, you're getting into a whole nother territory. You might need corporate loans, all sorts of stuff. But at least to get started, this is an incredible, incredible way to get started. So I want to see if anyone has any questions right now. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for some questions, just a reminder that you can get 30% off any BiggerPockets book in honor of my birthday. It is my 30th birthday, and we're offering you 30% off for that. So Marcin says, has the birthday boy done this on his own main residence? Yeah, so yes. So when I bought this, this was a quadplex, but it was my primary residence. So I got a mortgage in my name for that primary residence. And then I put 25% down to finance out of it because it was no longer my primary residence. And then I put down 20% as my new primary residence. So I'm happy where I am. I'm going to be living there for several years. But I could, in theory, do that again. Chris Vasquez says, when you initially invest in a multifamily unit, do you run the future cash out refinance numbers? That's a great question, Chris. Yes, I definitely do. But you also want to be conservative about the appreciation numbers. I want to, I seem like a genius for doing this, but honestly, Denver is an incredible market recently. And the fact that it went up 20% in 2 years is maybe a once in a lifetime thing. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. So you definitely try and be conservative. There are sites, Google it in your area, and you can see, historic appreciation rates, and try and be on the conservative side when you do that. So definitely, but a great question. Danielle says, why wouldn't you sell the fourplex, get your profit, and put a down payment on an apartment building? That's another strategy, definitely. That's a great question, Danielle. You could do that. Frankly, I love this property, and I really did not want to sell it. It is a cash cow. Even after refinancing, it is still making me a lot of money. And it's also in excellent condition. It's in a really, really good neighborhood. It rents super easy, and I have an emotional connection. I love it. And I also just wanted to find a place for my girlfriend and I to live in a single family home. But it's a great question. I have been thinking about selling a different one of my fourplexes to buy a bigger apartment building. But one of the cool things about real estate investing, frankly, is that you can customize this to your lifestyle. Sometimes you're trying to maximize profit. Sometimes you're trying to find a home to live in. Sometimes you buy a place that's not the most profitable because it's more desirable for your lifestyle. So it's really the really cool part of real estate investing is that you get to do that. So Tyler says, you're speaking about the equity in your home. My understanding from the banker is that you can only take out 85% of the value of the home. How do you get 100% of your home value? No, so that's a great point. So what I'm saying is you can actually, in my example, I'm only taking out 75% of the home value because I have to keep 25% of the value in the home as the bank. So basically what you have to do is put another down payment on the house. So when my property reached $860,000, we have to put down 25% because that's an investment property. When it's an investment property, you have to put down 25%. So I took 25% of this new value, which is $215K, and kept that in, and then I was able to pull out basically 75%. But with that 75%, I have to pay off my initial mortgage, which is this part. So if I had taken 75%, basically that's $645,000, but I have to pay back the bank, if that makes any sense, and then you can pull that out. So hopefully that all makes sense. Von Star says, how essential is percent return on rent from investment properties? What are hard numbers for this while airing for interest rate increases? So it's hard. You have to pick by neighborhood. But basically, the way I think about it is think about how you can make money in other places, right? Like if you could earn 12% in the stock market, which you probably cannot, but if you could put your money in the stock market and make 12%, but you can only make 3% on a property, maybe it's not worth it. So you have to think about that stuff, and you definitely want to look at all sorts of investments. But for me, real estate, even if it's a little bit worse than the stock market, is better because you are paying down that mortgage and building equity, even if it's not a cash return. Dave, what if you have bad credit? Can you still refi? You'd have to talk to a banker about that because bad credit is pretty subjective. I don't really know how bad your credit is. Obviously, you want to improve that, and we have a lot of resources on BiggerPockets on how. What? Oh. Thanks, Rebecca. I'm getting happy birthdays. So nice working at BiggerPockets. Yeah, so anyway, I don't know. So definitely try to talk to a banker, see if you are qualified. Also check out on BiggerPockets.com if you, and there's a lot of information about how to improve your credit score. All right, do we have any more questions, guys? Reminder, 30% off books. It's pretty good. We've never tried selling books on Deal of the Day before. That's why we're giving such a good discount, and I'm curious to see if people are interested in this because maybe we'll give some other deals or some other bonuses in the future. So check that out. Do we have any other questions before we go? I don't know what that means. The bad credit, yeah. I don't know. Honestly, yeah, a lot of times you can. You got to talk to a lender. I would definitely just recommend doing that. Is a signed lease good as cash? I'm not sure what you mean, Slip Kid. Is that good as cash? Like, is it as good as cash? Please clarify, and I can try and answer that. Someone asked, how much did your profit on the property go down with the added mortgage cost? It's not really, yeah, that's a good question. So it probably went down cash flow wise about, I think it was like $400 a month. So that's like $5,000 a year. So that's considerable, but it's still making me a really good amount of money. I bought this property well under value, thankfully. So it definitely lost about that. But I also gained a place where I live, and I now own another property, which to me is worth $5,000 a year for sure. Would you be too poor to be rich? Never. Is this going to be access? Yeah, you could definitely check this out again, right? It's going to be on YouTube. You can definitely watch at any time. Chris Vasquez, what am I doing tonight to celebrate? This is a really boring story, but I am taking my last final for grad school. I am getting a master's degree in statistics, and it is going to be over as of next week. This is my last final. I have one more presentation next week, and then I'm done. I'm extremely excited. But I'm going rafting with some friends next weekend to celebrate, which will be super fun out here in Colorado. Danielle said, would it be better to find a 5-plex or higher instead of a 2, 3, 4-plex? Is the value of the property based on NOI with 5 units or more? That's a great question. So here's the problem with 5-plexes. If you're doing a 2, a 3, or a 4-plex, you can get a residential mortgage, which means you can put 20% down. Once you go beyond 4 units, you have to put a minimum, in most cases, of 25% down, sometimes up to 30% down. So that is really, really a problem for some people, especially if you have to come up with all that equity yourself. So if you are a new investor, one of the cool things is that you can put down as low as 3.5% down. So if you're buying a 4-plex or less, you actually still qualify for an FHA loan, which means you could put as little as 3.5% down and still buy 4 units, which is unbelievable. So it really depends where you are in your career as an investor. If you are new, I'd say stick to the 2, 3, or 4-plex and get some experience as a landlord, get those favorable financing terms, and then build yourself up to be able to buy those bigger apartment buildings. Andy, the code is good for 24 hours, 30% off those books. We also have 2 new books. I didn't even say that because I'm an idiot. But we have 2 new books. One is called How to Find and Fund Great Deals by Anson Young. Super cool book. It's a question we get all the time is like, how do you find great deals? This book is all about that. And we also have another one called Set for Life from my man Scott Trench, who is sitting right here in our office. And he wrote it. It's all about financial planning, all about house hacking, and how to take single investment properties, how to save money, and to become financially free, and how to have income for the rest of your life. About that. It's a super also cool have another one called Set for Life from my man Scott any book. Trench, and we also have our other classics, which are here in our office. And he wrote how to book on investing in real estate with low and no money down. And we have a flipping book, how to estimate rehab cost book. All of those are 30% off. Sorry I didn't mention that sooner. I mean, we have 2 new books. I don't know why I didn't think of that. They're both really good. Highly recommend. All right, Zach, can you pop back to the questions and see if there are any more? Alicia, it's your birthday too. Happy birthday. July 20th. Coupon 30 for 30 not found. Uh-oh. Did you look for it on the, did you look for it on the bookstore? If it's not, Lawrence, if you're having a problem, email me at David. Let me erase this stuff. Actually, I'm gonna. Zach, can you try and use it and see if it works? Hopefully it works. Catherine, so yeah, I know California, I've heard it's really tough to find good deals. I know here in Denver, it's getting harder and harder. A lot of times you just have to be creative. So think about using perhaps going out of state or going to a secondary market a little bit further from where you are. I think it definitely requires a little bit of creativity. For me, I'm actually thinking about using Airbnb. So I'm thinking about buying a property to use there. And shoot. Zach, can you? I don't know. Okay, so if you want it, we're going to do email us support@biggerpockets.com. And just reference deal of the day. Just make the subject DOTD, and we'll hook you up. I will have to talk to support. This is the kind of day we're having, guys. Everything is going wrong for us, but we're still here. We were talking about refinancing. We're having a good time. Even though everything seems to be going wrong from a technological standpoint, the site's still up. That's great. All right, do we have any other questions, Zach? Guys, give me 1 second. Hillary, can one of you make a coupon for the books?
Yeah, what do you need it to say?
Anything.
Not
Dave,
Dave.
30% off. All right, I'm back. All right, so Hillary, who is awesome and is the director of customer support, is making a new code. It is going to be B-Day, and it is going to give you 30% off. Give her like 3 minutes, and you will get it. Sorry about that, guys. We are flying by the seat of our pants today. Code B-Day, 30% off. Okay, great. So let's see. As a new investor, would it be better to lease your property or purchase a new one? So what do you mean by that? Do you mean buy one and lease it out, or rent and buy a property? I've also heard mixed things about, Chris, I like that question. What if we heard Dave storm off and freak out on everyone with the audio on? I definitely have a fear of that all the time, because like sometimes it takes us 30 minutes to get this thing up and running, and I'm just wearing a microphone all the time. And I'm just walking around talking to people, shooting the breeze, and I'm definitely going to say something really embarrassing at something. Hopefully I'm not freaking out and yelling at anyone, but definitely going to say something embarrassing sooner or later. All right, the chat went away, Zach. So what is the discount code? It's going to be B-Day. In just a minute, it's going to be 30 minutes. So yeah, Brian, if you're an investor and you're looking for partners, BiggerPockets is an awesome way to do this. Go on and introduce yourself. Use it to network. It's a really valuable tool. It's really what BiggerPockets is all about. Danny obviously has some advice already for people who are in California. There are great places to invest all throughout the country, and it really depends what you're looking for. There are a lot of secondary and tertiary markets that have great cash flow but less appreciation. Places in Denver right now, for example, have very low cash flow but have great appreciation. So you really have to learn how to understand how to run your numbers, how to really analyze deals. And if you haven't used the BiggerPockets calculator, you definitely should. It's something we showcase a lot here on Deal of the Day. So you should definitely check those out. You can use it for free for a couple of times as a free user of BiggerPockets, so you have no reason not to.
Let's go ahead and show them the bookstore page really quick.
Okay, cool.
Okay, restart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so as you can see, we have finding and funding great deals. That's obviously coming a lot up in the chat section right now. So you can get 30% off this deal. We also have Set for Life, this awesome book that Scott wrote that's all about creating financial freedom and sustainable income for you for the rest of your life. You will get 30% off any package that you choose. There are a lot of bonuses, especially for the finding and funding deals, because we're still in like the launch technically. You are getting all these bonuses. You'll have to look on here. I can't read them from here, but there's all sorts of good stuff. Zach, should we check and see if that coupon is working? Yes. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Hillary is the best. Thank you, Hillary. I think Mindy was in that too. So if you guys don't know Mindy and Hillary, they are really in charge of the whole community here at BiggerPockets, and they are flawless at their job, unlike me, who has just messed pretty much everything up today. So thank you to Hillary B-Day is the code, 30% off, any good deal. Let's pack back to the comments, Zach, and see if we have any more questions before we get out of here. Can you use your home as collateral for a new purchase? I don't know. I mean, I think refinancing is basically the same thing, but you might want to talk to a mortgage lender about that. You might be able to do it. Oh, look at that. Zach already updated the code. Very fancy. This is a smart guy over here. All right. Do you guys have any other questions before we go? Okay, we had one more. This will do our last question. I own a townhome in South Florida. I have $115K in equity in the home. Should I sell and try to find a multifamily property and use the equity as a down payment? What are my options? What would you recommend? It's hard to know any given market, but yeah, I think it's an awesome. Nice one, Brax. That was good. Yeah, I think getting a multifamily generally is going to produce more cash flow for you than a townhome. So I would definitely look into that. I think you have to obviously run the numbers and figure out the right opportunity in your neighborhood, in your local area. But generally speaking, if you can find a bunch of duplexes or quadplexes where you have a bunch of units contributing capital, you're going to make more money. Great question. Rental income. Does the bank use it to calculate property value? Absolutely. So yes, that is really, when you're talking about a cap rate, I saw some people talking about it. That is basically what it is. Cap rate means that it's a percentage of how long it is going to take you to recoup your investment based on the income of the property or the investment that you're making. So for example, a 10% cap rate means that it will take you 10 years to recoup your investment. So as an example, you invest $100,000, you're making $10,000 a year, that would be a 10% cap rate. This is how a bank or any sophisticated investor for a multifamily apartment building is going to calculate the value of a home. And so that's a great question. Glad to see that the code works. That's awesome. Chris, we are hiring currently for a UI engineer, but we are always hiring. We also have a dream job section on our website. If you want to work for BiggerPockets, you can go on there and tell us what you can do for us, and we take those really seriously. So go to biggerpockets.com/jobs. I think it might be careers now, Zach, but maybe not. I don't know. I think it redirects. Either way, go there. Let us know what you think you can do for BiggerPockets. We are usually hiring. Our awesome HR person, Rebecca, has hired a ton of people this year, and so we don't have too many openings, but always check back. We definitely want people part of the community to join the team all the time. All right, guys, I think that is about it for us. Thank you guys so much for being here on my birthday. Again, use the code BDAY for 30% off any and all books. That will work for about the next 24 hours. Next week, we're going to work out these technological issues and hopefully bring you a live deal as we have been in the past. Thank you guys. I know we haven't been here for a couple weeks. Our main man, Zach, has been on vacation, enjoying himself in California. And so we are back, and we will be doing this every week again. And we hope that you will come join us again next week on Deal of the Day. Thanks, guys.